Her force, her hope, and her simplicity are things that I think people will take with them when they will leave the theater.
After the Hamas attacks on Israel on October 7th and the ensuing Israeli military response, filmmaker Seba De Farsi knew that she wanted to make a documentary about what was unfolding in Gaza, but when she couldn't gain access to the territory, she had to find another way to tell the story. That opportunity came through Fatma Hasona, a 25-year-old photojournalist and poet living in Gaza. Over the course of a year, through regular video calls, their collaboration took shape, becoming the powerful new documentary, Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk. The film is both life-affirming and heartbreaking, capturing the daily resilience of Fatma as she navigates life in a war zone, her warmth and optimism tested by unimaginable loss. Premiering at Cannes and screening at the New York Film Festival and beyond, the film has been widely praised by both critics and audiences for its intimacy and emotional force. As it begins its theatrical release, we invite viewers to look beyond politics and experience Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk as a deeply human story about endurance, art, and connection amid conflict. Despite some minor technical challenges, we love this film and we're eager to share this conversation with filmmaker Seba De Farsi on Inside the Arthouse, starting now.
Hi, my name is Greg Lemley.
And I'm Raphael Sparge.
And welcome to another episode of Inside the Arthouse. Today, we are joined by filmmaker Sepideh De Farsi, coming to us from New York, where your film, Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk, just premiered at the New York Film Festival. Sepideh, welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
The film is I guess we'll call it a documentary. You're very much a character in the film, and it's a film at some level that's about the political and the personal. I guess let's start there. Is it possible sometimes to separate the political from the personal?
I did try that in my career at some point, to try to believe that I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, I'm not an activist, and art is art and politics politics. I gave up on that a long time ago. So now it's all, intertwined, I would say. Yeah. At least for me.
You're the subject of the film. It's your conversations with a photojournalist, Fatma Hasona. I hope I got the name correct.
Fatma Hasona.
Fatma Hasona, who is in Gaza. And you start, communicating with her 2 or 3 months after October 7th, I believe. And your ongoing conversations. And she is a completely engaging personality. I think there's a film, whatever side you are on this subject politically, I think there's, something very human about the film. And that's why I asked the question about personal versus political, I guess, or maybe want to start there, because I want people, whatever they believe about what's happening, to see this film and maybe learn something and challenge themselves, I guess.
Okay, then allow me to rephrase. When I say that I do not believe in separating the personal from the political, I mean in my way of addressing things and choosing my topics. When it comes to her or to our conversations, it's only human. It's really, and there I join you in saying that no matter which side of the table you're sitting regarding this topic, she's so engaging, she's so magnetizing, that magnetic, let's say, and that you can't help but listening to her and looking at her and wanting to follow her. And this is the miracle that happened between us.
It really is a miracle. I mean, look, it's a miracle that any film gets made, right? It's a miracle that any film gets distribution. And here you are at the New York Film Festival as well. And you've now crossed over, at least 3 miracles. There's also this sort of extraordinary kind of, I guess I just want to say touched by magic kind of quotient about the making of this movie, because you, in response to what happened, you sort of urged yourself to Gaza. You couldn't get in. And then you were connected to this woman who is a sort of a subject of a doc beyond any that you could ever even possibly imagine. In addition to being a photojournalist and her capturing everything that was there, as you say, just her personality and her openness, her sweetness, And the contrast of her sort of sunny disposition relative to then kind of the destruction around her makes her this sort of extraordinary narrator, as it were, of what's happening. And I guess I just wonder if you could talk about how remarkable that is.
You said sunny. I would say solar. I always say solar about her. This is the adjective yes, it's always related
Solar
to
is
light
great.
somehow. Yes, because she is. You know what? Every time I walk in a theater to introduce the film, the film starts, she's there and she's alive. This is the miracle. Of course, I know what happened. I know she's not there anymore, but she's there. So for some time, I still laugh with her. I cry with her, and this is the quality that she had to convey such an energy that it really goes beyond the image. It's and I don't know what triggered that. Was she like that with everybody? I saw interviews that she did with professional journalists, for other medias. I discovered that afterwards. She wouldn't tell me about it. And she wasn't the same persona. So I believe it's also related to something that was going on between us, the two of us.
Yeah, can you talk about that then? Because obviously woman to woman, it's quite lovely, and journalist to journalist, it's quite, there's a simpatico, but there's an intimacy and a rapport that you had that is just extraordinary.
I can't really analyze it in terms of the reasons. It's just a human miracle. Like, we were very different in age. She was my daughter's age, basically, and I believe I'm older than her mother, most probably. Our experiences were very different in a way, but had also similarities in the sense that she was blocked in Gaza. She was born in Gaza, never set her foot out of Gaza until she was killed. I had to leave my country, Iran, in order to live because I was denied everything. But I did spend a few years being blocked in my own country, almost a year in jail, and then several years after that, blocked without a passport, without being able to leave the country, without being able to study. So I do know what it means to be blocked and to be denied your rights. So perhaps that is what triggered this deep understanding between the two of us, or for her to feel that she could open up to me. Because when I look at her other interviews, which are online, it's a different face that I see. It's always her, of course, and it's very magnetic, but it's more grave, it's less, open. And I believe that something special happened in what one could call sorority, friendship, loving relationship, because, and it's not logical. It's one of those miracles. Again, I use that word again, not to run away from it.
It is a miracle.
I think
really
you have to see the film. For people who will see the film, the conversation that starts the film is the very first conversation we had together. We had not had any prior to that. And you see it happening on screen.
It's interesting talking about it because I have been the subject of a documentary. I've been the subject of a documentary that Raphael directed, a film called Only in Theaters. In talking with people at screenings and so on, and they're saying you reveal so much of yourself in the film, and I would like to joke that it's cheaper than therapy, but there is I don't know if another filmmaker would have. Whether I would have had the same comfort level with a different filmmaker, or if they had, there's this, look, we're human, and sometimes we want to hide parts of ourselves, or we want to, if you're giving an interview, they tell you, don't answer the question, say what you want to say. Fatma was always answering your questions, and you guys really developed, there was an openness, I guess, to the conversation, and that's not always present in every documentary.
That's true. There are different types of hooking as a filmmaker towards your subject. Already, there are people, great filmmakers and great documentaries, who are able to film people whom they do not look like and they do not like. I belong to the other category. Possibly, Raphael, you're in the same category as me. I'm pretty sure you can't film. You can't film somebody you don't like.
Right.
I can't.
Earl Morris can. Okay.
Yeah. It's funny.
I mean, you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
There has to be this connection, and then of course, I was reflecting on my earlier documentaries. I mean, I always became friends with the people whom I was friends in the first place, or I did become friends afterwards with my subjects, the subjects of my films. And so I think it's this category of film that this belongs to, Put Your Soul belongs to. On top of that, I'm in the film. I mean, it's also me and my life. I'm totally there, So there is no hiding. There is no withdrawing. There is no. It is a very open hand game.
But you become us in a way, right? Because you take us into this world, and you, like us, are seeing it for the first time, and meeting her family, and seeing the landscape, and there's something about, it works so well for what this wanted to be. I'm curious where the idea became concrete for you in terms of what you were actually doing. I mean, it seems like you sort of acted on instinct, like I've got to get there, I've got to do something. And then you had a friend who connected you to her, and then, okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to have a connection. And then you, with very rudimentary tools, you kind of filmed her and on a screen, and, and when did you realize that this was actually a film or a narrative as opposed to sort of an exploration or a sketch?
I'm a very stubborn person. So when I have an idea that I want to make a film, the film will be there, better or worse.
That's great.
But the film will be there. So when I went to Cairo, I knew I wanted to make a film on this subject. The question was how. And when I was introduced to her, before I saw her, I thought this would be a great person. It's interesting. A young woman photographer stuck in Gaza. And I had seen her photos on her Insta page. I thought, wow, that sounds interesting. And my initial idea was to talk to her and to tell her what kind of images I needed so that she would send the images to me. And then I would make the film with the people in Cairo and other footage, etc., etc. The moment I saw her face, which is what you see at the beginning of the film, I was like, this is it. Mm. She's the one. I knew it. This was then the instinct moment. And by the time the first conversation ended, which was an hour and a half later, because it disconnected, we reconnected, we called again, etc. And it was like that every time. I knew it was her. And when we connect, then I left Cairo and I was in Paris. The second conversation takes place in Paris a few days later because it was not possible to connect every day for her. And I traveled, I arrived. So it was like, 2-3 days gap between the two conversations. And the second time, it's as though we were friends for years. And you see that conversation as well in the film. It's the one when she says, you're going to suffer with me because of the internet, that conversation. And yes. It is quite amazing how she tells me, I miss you and I'd be glad to see you tomorrow. And, in the message she sends me before in between the disconnections, let's say. So there's already the bonding there so quickly. I don't know why exactly. Again, I cannot explain, but it's perhaps due to who she was and who I was and the way we related. And that's how it started. Then, of course, you have the other decisions. I had to, because I did doubt. I was thinking, but how can I make
That's what I wondered. I wondered if you had doubts
film.
Because you...
Well, of course.
It's so simple. I mean, you had almost no tools, right? I mean, just because of the circumstances, there's no crew, there's no lighting, there's no sound. I mean, you literally had like a sort of a FaceTime sort of situation and then another handheld camera on that. I mean,
yes. And I decided not to record like you're recording. I didn't want to do that. This was another decision because I could have, used screen recording. But I didn't want to do that to make it more dynamic in terms of framing, and actually to make it more messy, more human in the sense of more unpredictable because my hand would shake because light would come in, things would happen, and I could follow them. Whereas you cannot follow if you're recording the screen, not in the same way. And so this was the other very conscious decision that I made, that I wanted to keep it that way, because I could have said, okay, I'll throw that first conversation out. I will hire a crew. I will take a camera, but I didn't want to. I really want. This was not the doubt. This was okay still. The doubt was whether I could make a film only with these conversations, with no other footage. I knew also that I wanted the newsreels in it. I knew that. Mm-hmm. I had been filming TV news prior to meeting her. This was also a decision that was clear to me. The doubt was in the general structure of the film, whether a film could hold for 2 hours or more, right, at least an hour and a half, with just a talking head or two talking heads, whether that would be enough material cinematographically. Because I knew I wanted it to go to cinemas. I didn't want to make it for TV. And so there was many moments where I had doubts, and I had to overcome those doubts by recoursing to the emotional content of our conversations, which was very strong. I knew that.
So you talk about the difference between making something, if it had been for TV, how do you think it would have been different?
Well, why was a theatrical important to you? Yeah.
Okay. I have never made films for TV, first of all.
Okay.
So, but I knew this one wouldn't be for TV either.
Yeah.
So it was clear, but there is a difference. You see, you conceive this. I think the moment of truth came when I was mixing the film, when I was mixing the sound, because obviously the editing process was on medium or small screens. Okay. I didn't, you don't edit on, but when it was over and we went before the grading even, because the grading was our last level for different reasons. That's how it happened. The sound mix was happening, and this was on a bigger screen. And this is the first time I saw the film, and I was waiting for that because I was a bit scared whether it would hold, on a huge screen, on a cinema size screen. And when I saw it, I was like, this is it. I made it, because it's even stronger on a bigger screen than it is on a small screen. Because the image then becomes like a painting. It becomes the pixels. It all that I had in mind, my calculations, let's say, worked out correctly in the sense that the viewer goes beyond the image. This is what I wanted, and it happens, I think.
Right.
It does.
No, I think, look, you can rely on the audience also being a little more committed in a theatrical environment, and you can be a little more patient. There's a level where you take your time, certainly in the editing process and what we see on screen, in asking Fatma more provocative questions, perhaps over time as your relationship develops. I'm referring, obviously, your comfort level in asking her about wearing the hijab. And then later a conversation about her reaction to her feelings about Hamas and the governance of Gaza. Did you ask those questions early on, or did you feel that you needed some time to really develop the relationship?
Yes, those questions came a bit later, obviously, because there was need to be in a deeper, and have more knowledge of her and of her attitude, of her, to be able to decipher her reactions, because I didn't want to hurt her, and I wanted to be very respectful. And these are questions that are delicate. So, but it's not that I never prepared questions written, prior to, they came. I would ask them as they came. So I would say it was a kind of an improv, I was, my questions were affected by the events that were taking place between two of our calls. So if something tragic happened or a big news came in regards to Gaza or to Iran or the world news, we would discuss that. Of course, I would ask her about it, and also how I felt her. So my first question was always, how are you? Have you eaten? How are things on your side? And it was important. It was a sincere question of concern. And from then, and the way she answered, I would get the tone of her moods of that day. And then it would, lead to my next questions. And sometimes I felt, yes, like some of the questions I did ask her several times in several conversations, but I only kept one of them in the editing process because the answers were different, and also because the output was different depending on her moods.
Yeah, and the circumstances that befell her on the day. One of the things that is again so valuable, I think, at a time when we've been hearing about this crisis, the war, both sides of the perspectives on this, and of course the untold tragedy of the amount of people who've really perished in Gaza, and there's a place where it can become we can become dull to the news, or dull to the numbers, or dull to the facts, or dull to the screaming headlines. And again, what you've done has been able to kind of really again take us in and give us a window directly there. I guess my question is what do you hope that the audience is when they leave the theater? What do you hope lingers with them? And what do you hope that they take with them?
I'm sure that they will leave with Fatma's smile and her face. That, I'm sure, will remain with them. I would like them to take her sense of resilience and dignity that she was, and her pride. How does it feel being a Palestinian in Gaza today? And she says, I'm proud of it. And this is something I never will forget in my life. I mean, and it came out so naturally, so spontaneously. So I think some of her words, her force, her hope, and her simplicity are things that I think people will take with them when they will leave the theater.
Yeah, I've certainly thought about her a lot since I've seen the movie, and I watched it again, and again I just in the best sense, she kind of just sort of haunts me because I just am so taken by the contrast of her smile against that backdrop. Has the film, I guess maybe it's too early, but I mean, has there been any political impact? I mean, has it helped advance the conversation of peace? I know that in her poem she talks about how she became an angel for a city, huge, bigger than any dream, bigger than this city. It's so beautiful, and I guess I just wondered. We all hope for peace, and I guess I wonder if this has had an opportunity to have any impact.
Raphael, I'm so disappointed by what's going on in our world now in regard to this matter, especially many other issues as well. And I know there are a lot of people like me. Presumably you guys are also concerned. We all are concerned by this. And when the film was finished, I had a feeling, a pride on having been able to cheat the devil and to make a film despite the obstacles. And then I thought, okay, she's going to come here and we will show it to the world. And then they killed her the day after the selection was announced. And it was such a blast that I still haven't gotten over it. I'm in denial in a way. I know, of course, that she's gone, but still I don't believe it. And then I was in a phase, I thought, this has never happened, that the protagonist of a film that is being shown in Cannes was killed a day after the selection was announced. This will stop things from being so harsh and so monstrous. It didn't. I tried to show it to ministers, presidents. I mean, I'm still trying. UN, European Parliament. Many people have seen it. I'm sure many politicians have seen it as well. And I know they cry. The thing is that hypocrisy of politicians, or of politics, let's say, not politicians, of politics generally, that we hear what is being said about the peace talks. It doesn't make any sense. So I am disappointed, yes, because I thought that this film would make a bigger shift. I think it does have. If it has made a big shift, but not as big as I would have wanted. I was perhaps too optimistic. I don't know. Too ambitious. I don't know. I'm still working on it, and I think because as you said, yes, when you see her face. She puts a face on many stories, on many figures, numbers, digits that we've, and photos that we've seen and forgotten or put to the side of our brains in order to be able to continue living, because if you keep them there,
it's too hard. It's too, you can't get through your day if you
can't get through your day. Exactly. You break down. So you have to put it aside. And she is the one that fills in that gap. She's the bridge. She's the human bridge. That's why I thought with this, we will make things change, but perhaps I haven't shown it to the right people. I don't know.
Maybe that's again, it helps.
You know what I mean?
Look, you have to change hearts and minds, and and sometimes you can't change them at the same time, I guess. So maybe we'll start by changing the hearts a little bit by introducing this story, and hopefully the minds will follow.
I hope so.
And obviously, as we're recording this today, there's at least some hope, but our hopes have been dashed so much during the past 2 years that it is hard. It's very hard, but hope. In your life, you have been, if not a pawn, a prisoner of politics that go beyond, the personal in terms of dealing with the government of your country of birth, and to some extent, Fatma is also in that position. How did that enter into your conversation? How much did she know about what you had gone through and how it potentially related to her life?
Within the first conversation, that she did not know much about what was going on in Iran politically. Because when I do tell her I'm Iranian, she says, "Oh, I would love to go to Tehran." And I tell her spontaneously that I can't. And she says, "Oh, why?" And I say, "Because of political reasons." And she's surprised. And I was like, she doesn't know what's going on there. And it's logical, because manipulation that the Iranian regime has done, and the relationship that it has with Hamas, and the blockade, the mediatic blockade that Palestinians have been ongoing, even though they are open-minded, even though they have access through internet, but still there are filters. So I realized that she doesn't know much, and certainly not about my personal life, because we didn't know each other. So within the film and throughout our conversations, this was one other axis that I wanted to address, distilling and sharing bits of my life, my past experience with her. First, as a friend, as a person who is asking her questions and wants to know her life. She should also, I thought, know about my life a bit. And so I would tell her. And then I thought it's interesting for her to also have another example of a woman who has left her country and who is a filmmaker who's in exile. And I got the confirmation that that my presence in their lives was something quite special, just because of the exoticness of it. To put it simply, the moment her brother just comes in and wants to look at me, because he's never seen a woman like me, which, which was so cute and such a moment. Yes, and there's this young man, shy, and I wanted to talk to him. And of course, the deal was that usually people would come, but they would go quickly. They would leave us to talk. This is what we would do it. But still, those little moments that we spent, the three of us, and he was shying off, but still, it showed the extent of the isolation they were in, and it is disastrous. I felt bad. I mean, it was a funny moment, but also a very tragic moment when you see a young man who's never seen a woman like me, meaning what? What does that mean? That means that they've been cut off from the world. This was the tragedy. And I was trying to fill in for that by bits, as much as I could, parallel to our conversation about the war and the genocide and the destruction. I would also send bits of my experience. And I thought, and she was eager. She was always listening and taking it in.
This is a question which, normally probably someone would have asked you at the very beginning, but maybe it's an opportunity is to just maybe you could explain to us the title and how you came to the title and what that meaning is as relates to her and the film.
Yes. The work in progress title, of course, was different. I had several titles and I couldn't settle on any of them. I have to mention that I started the editing process very early. Like a week after I started shooting, I also started the editing alone. So I was in this, different phases of being in the film and shooting and then editing parallelly. And one day when I was going through the material to the footage that I had, I came across this message that she had sent me, because also that was there from the beginning. I wanted to keep the voice messages, the SMS, the text messages. I thought I needed to build something around, the context, and it is the case. We have, not very frequently, but we do have at moments in the film, audio and text messages. So I archived all of them systematically. I had timelines and I had different folders and all, and I was going through the audio messages, and I heard this phrase that she sent me in a message about the act of taking photos in Gaza. She described it as, it is like putting your soul on your hand and walking. And I rediscovered it, let's say, a few months later, and then it was such it struck me as something very strong and poetical, kind of like a full image, something complete. There was a full phrase, there was an action, there was a metaphor, it was a whole. And the next day I asked her, do you remember you told me this? And she wasn't really remembering clearly. But she did say, yes, and it's the moment she talks about depression and all. And then it became clear to me that this was the title of the film.
Yeah, it works so well.
Let's take a look at the trailer for the film. We've talked about it, but I want to, show audiences, the style and the tone of the film. So here's a trailer from Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk.
Where are you now? Your position?
Gaza. This is my neighborhood. No one lives here or there. There's no one.
When the war started on October 7th, I started filming Palestinian refugees who were just arriving from Gaza. Through one of them, I came to know Fatem.
I am a photographer.
Yes, I saw your photos.
This is my world.
Okay.
I find myself in this. I am trying to find some life in this world, in this death. Every second you walk on the street, you put your soul on your hands and walk. I'm shaking. It's very close.
Each of our conversations could be the last one. So every time we connect, and I can see her face, it feels like a miracle.
Just like this. Go without any goodbyes.
Meeting her was like a mirror held in front of me. How much both our lives are conditioned by walls and wars. You look good. You look good.
How are you? We live a very simple life, and they want to take this simple life from us. Why? I don't know if this will end or not. I must keep going, and I must document everything to be me.
I was drifting between these moments of feeling guilty of having my normal life and access to everything I wanted. I mean, I don't know if certainly in an abstract context like ours, but even when you've watched the film, I don't know if the audiences who are not familiar really with the context do understand how dire is the situation there. I mean, when but she says it, she describes it with such a candid way, with humor again, like she hasn't had chicken in 10 months when she says that. And it is insane. Okay, I mean, you could be a vegetarian and decide not to eat meat, but if it's not your choice, then it is a long time not to eat just simply chicken or no chocolate, and but she says it with such grace that we both laugh at it. And, this was the thing that she had, that even about the terrible things, she would almost joke in a very light-hearted, manner, and bring me to feel better and bring me out of my guilt, almost. You know what I mean? It's like
100%. I mean, that's again just sort of this miracle of having found her and being able to tell this story. Because had you found someone who was like, "Oh my God, it's so terrible and it's so bad and it's so awful and I never eat," I mean, these are all facts. But because of her, again, her lightness, as you say, we get invited in and have an experience of it in such an entirely different way. Did you speak to her about, I don't know, this quality, this lightness, the smiles, the twinkle in her eyes, even when she was hungry, etc.? Were you able to sort of have her talk about just her worldview as relates to her openness? I don't know. Would that have made her self-conscious? Because it's so remarkable. I wonder if there was ever a conversation about that.
We did on and off, but there was one moment when I tried to cheer her up. I believe I did. Or a couple of times, but one of them I really felt quite terrible after that, but I didn't show it, of course. It's when she talks about her depression, and to cheer her up, I ask her, I say, well, how was it during the COVID?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you know how bad it was, COVID, for us here, right? We were all, terrified, felt imprisoned, this, that. And she says, I was a happy person during COVID. That's her answer. Which brings me to the conclusion that the situation now is such a tragedy that COVID lockdown is happiness compared to this. And then I just thought, what an idiot you are. But how could I have known? I was trying to relativize. But again, she laughs. It's like...
And there's no resentment. You introduce your life,
and she's
you're
not just
traveling, you're
associative.
going places.
Right.
The inconveniences of your life are having to stop filming because you have to let your cat in.
For instance,
which I think is I would suggest is included deliberately. Unless your cats are really good at.
No. Well, come on. If my cat is at the door, I leave everything. I open the door. That is a must.
The cat's fault.
Well, I could have cut it.
You off the hook. I understand.
Of course. But I could have cut it in the editing. I didn't.
No, you could have, and I love that you included that. I love the poetry of that,
and I love in a way that she accepts that. I'm leaving this conversation, which I know could be interrupted because you're going to be bombed on your end, and I have to let my cat in.
Not like that.
And of course, but she understands that. Yeah, you need to let your cat in. Your cat is important.
Yes. No, the cat is important. It's also the normality. No, what is important for me is to show her a glimpse of the normality, my normality.
Yes.
I think she deserves that.
Yes.
This is what I try to share with her.
It just makes it so powerful. It's just so powerful. Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful film, and it's a very human film, and I think and again, as I said at the beginning, I think I want people to distance themselves from any political consideration and just say this is a film about people and people in difficult circumstances, people in the midst of war, and not necessarily war of their own making, and understand that just at some level.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. I want to share one small anecdote with you before leaving you, because I think we're reaching
we're getting close to the end.
moment. Yes. We're getting close to the end. These are just little details, but I think details have importance also. Fatem lived in a neighborhood in north of Gaza called Al-Tufah. Al-Tufah means the apple. Mm-hmm. This is the name of the neighborhood. Today, there's practically nothing left of it, as of what I've heard recently. On April 15th, the film selection to Cannes was announced. A day later, at that same day, we had the conversation, which you see at the end of the film. I shared it with her, and it was such a moment. I like to say it because I had sun on my side and she had sun on her side. We both had a sunny moment, and that was the last conversation we had. The day after that, she is targeted in her house with her whole family by the Israeli army. And the conclusion is, what I'm saying is clearly researched by Forensic Architecture, which did a study, and it's available online. That is another matter. I just want to say that the only person who survived this attack is her mother. She was in coma. She woke up and she refused to eat first. Close people, friends, convinced her to eat after a few days because I think she wanted to die at some point when she woke up. But they really convinced her into eating, and the thing she asked for was an apple. And there was no apple. There was no apple in Gaza back then. When I heard that, it just shattered me. And I still can't, I tell you because it is, I think, important to realize what the situation is. This is in April, not now. When I heard this, I was like, can I send money? Can I do anything? And they said, no, money we have. There is nothing to buy, All I want to happen with this film is for people's humanity to revive and to wake up, to do what we can to end this situation, And this is what Fatma wanted.
Yeah, that is the prayer of her life and everything she believed in. And you really captured magic in this portrait of her at this time. The relationship between the two of you and the intimacy of the conversation and the way you tell the movie, again, just with such confidence in the filmmaking and letting it happen. It's so beautiful, and it really just knocked me out. So I really hope people will run to see this in theaters, because it's just a spectacular film, and so timely and so and timeless at the same time. Thank you for making this, and thanks for joining us and talking about this.
It's a terrific film. It's being distributed by Kino Lorber. And you can get information on their website, which is kinolorber.com, about where and when it's going to be opening in your community. It is going to be playing across the United States, starting November 5th in New York, and November 14th in Los Angeles, and then throughout the rest of the year and into early 2026. So please do look for it and find a way to get to see it. You also talked about Fatma's Instagram, her photos. Where can people see those?
Well, her Insta page is still there, not active anymore, but it does exist. A book with her photography has been published in France. Just came out. It's called The Eyes of Gaza. It's a beautiful book with text, her poem, and 100 photos, or around 100 photos of her. And hopefully it will be translated into English. Exhibitions are going around the world with her photos. Hopefully soon again in the States in November. We're working at Kino Lorber, and we are all working on that. So I hope you'll get to see her photos as well.
Yeah, well, I'm going to talk to Kino Lorber about having them up at the theaters where we're playing it.
Great.
So, we'll do that offline. Sepideh, it's been a real pleasure having this conversation with you. Thank you for making the time to join us. And again, welcome to Inside the Arthouse. And for those of you out there, if you've enjoyed the episode, please make sure to like and to share, to spread the word about this terrific film. Again, Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk. Being distributed by Kino Lorber in the United States, starting on November 5th. My name is Greg Lemley.
And I'm Raphael Sparge, and thanks for joining us today on Inside the Arthouse. See you next time.
Our show was produced by Raphael Sparge with on-site producer Noreen Dickerson. Supervising producers are Thomas Cassetta and Miles McCreary. Our show was edited by Gabriel Emily and sound mixed by Thomas Cassetta. Our musical theme is composed by Isabel Engman and Gerardo Garcia Jr. Marketing by Gabriel Emily. Show graphics by Jenna DeAngelis. Additional marketing and web design by Stephanie Peters. Filmed at the historic Laemmle Royal Theater in Los Angeles, California. See you next time on Inside the Arthouse. If you like today's show, please consider subscribing to our channel to learn more on Inside the Arthouse.